All right, so what you're about to see, I cannot and will not recommend that anybody else duplicates, recreates. If you decide to do this at your own risk, do this on your own accord. I am not taking any responsibility. And what we're talking about, of course, is an ROG Ally battery mod. And this behemoth of a battery is 88 watt hours, so it's about 120% larger than the stock battery that comes in it. The stock battery is 40 watt hours. But yeah, this is sketchy and should not be recreated. I know I've said that multiple times. Please, please, please do not do this. But today I'm going to show you how to do it, which is kind of crazy because I just told you not to. And it's because I love it. I have played hours and hours and hours of games with this modification, and it has kind of really turned around my experience with ROG Ally. I did want to let you guys know this is an iFixit tutorial. It is something that they offered. I think it's kind of cool that iFixit is going through and teaching you guys how to modify your consoles, your gaming systems. It's just not something that people usually do or companies usually do. So I did want to get that out of the way. I think it's pretty sweet that they're doing stuff like this. And with that being said, let's jump into the tutorial. So first you're going to start by making sure that your battery is drained to 25% or less. Make sure the console doesn't turn on or is turned off completely. And then we're going to start by removing all the screws on the console. There is one screw in the bottom middle that you don't want to remove fully. On mine, I can remove it fully. It's a JSOX modification for the clear backing. Then you're going to take a spudger or something to pry the back of the shell off. Usually I start at the bottom and then make my way around the entire console. Once you have the console open, you're going to take off the back cover that's covering the heatsink. On my console, once again, it's modified. There's just a cover that I had on the battery. Now, we're going to pry up the battery connector. And when I say pry up, you're going to want to take your little spudger and move the metal clip that's holding the connector up towards the heatsink, and then you can pry from below and kind of cam that battery connector out of place. Next, we're going to take the battery out. There's 4 screws that is holding the battery in. One is covered by a warranty sticker. I really wish manufacturers would stop doing that, but you're going to want to remove that, and then you can take the battery out in one piece. Once the battery's out, you're going to want to take a spudger again and kind of rock that connector out of the battery. Don't pull on the actual cables. You might damage it if you do that. Now, once you get that connector out, this is the most frustrating part about this entire modification. ASUS has the actual cables going into the connector glued in. iFixit recommends that you take the connector and heat it up with a hairdryer. I didn't want to damage it, so I chipped away at it until I could get those, just get that piece of glue out so that I can take each one of the connectors out. And for the one that actually comes off of the ROG Ally, the cables or the wires aren't really as important, but when you're taking the connector off of the battery, you want to make sure that you're a little bit more careful. You don't want to damage those wires. It could end up, damaging your console to the point where it won't turn on. And I find that on the battery side, the connector to pull off of the battery is a little bit easier. The glue is not as hard. Maybe it's because the battery is newer. In my case, it was a lot easier to get that off. Now we're going to transfer everything from the original back shell over to the new 3D printed one. I'm not taking the buttons on the back of the controller off or the back of the shell off. I'm just moving over the triggers from the original back shell to the new one. Now I'm taking the new 3D printed back shell and inserting some inserts into the shell so that it'll hold the battery. I really don't trust with a battery this heavy using just the threads going straight into the plastic. Now we're going to install the battery onto the actual ROG Ally. This part is a little bit frustrating. You can do it, there is enough slack, but you're going to want to push down on the connector and then try to slide that metal retaining clip back down onto the connector. Now that you have the connector reinstalled, we're going to reassemble the console, install all 6 screws again. The one next to the battery is a little bit more challenging, or right below the battery. You kind of have to have a screwdriver at an angle to get that in. Now once that's fully set up, you can plug your console into mains power. If your console doesn't turn on and you haven't plugged it in yet, that might be another reason. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through and re-troubleshoot everything, make sure all connections are tight. Now that we have the console turned on and all back together, I threw together a little comparison of how the console runs from the original battery to the new battery. And I noticed that it's roughly about 40-ish minutes on the original battery at 35 watts. And then on this new battery, I was able to get, I think it was close to just shy of 2 hours. I think it was 1 hour and 45 minutes, but I'll post this up on the screen so you guys can see that. Now, with that being said, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the video, and have a great day.